Well, if you've looked at this morning's papers, you could hardly have failed to notice that George Best of Manchester United is in trouble again. Booked and blamed for an injury. Best booked as City star is crippled. We investigate that incident, and who better to discuss it a good deal further than the Manchester City coach, Malcolm Allison. Delighted to have Malcolm in our studio today. He's come down from Manchester for the programme, a member, of course, of the successful ITV World Cup panel. Here's Mal now, and with him, Jimmy Hill.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, congratulations, Malcolm, on a fine win yesterday. Thank you for coming down from the programme. But obviously the first news we want to know, how is Glyn Pardoe?
Well, Jim, he has a double fracture, and they were rather worried last night about him because the circulation wasn't too good to his foot. But I believe this morning things are going a lot better for him, and we hope that he will be out of pain today.
You weren't allowed to go to the hospital to see him, I understand, afterwards. That's very unusual, isn't it?
Well, they haven't. They had this trouble with the circulation, you know, and they were having to work on him.
But that's over now?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we'll come back to that in a moment. First of all, let's look at one or two of the incidents in that game before we look at the tackle. And the first goal, which you were rather pleased about.
Very pleased, yes.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Well, the ball went out to Glyn Pardoe, and he turned on this ball, and he crossed a very early ball. And Mike Doyle followed it in and got up exceptionally high and headed it off the far post.
There's Colin running out for it now.
He turns on this exceptionally quickly. Perfect cross this is.
Look at the way he came up in the air there as he
There's Mike Doyle going in, rises very, very high and heads it in off the far post, giving Rimmer no chance. Might love to score at the Stretford end. There he goes.
He's not very fond of United, is he?
No, he's a Manchester boy, and he's had United rubbed into him all his life, you know, and I believe his next door neighbour's a very strong United supporter.
What about Francis Lee now, the one who scored the wonderful hat-trick, but I believe you had some kind of a financial arrangement with him this season?
Well, Francis, he's never been a very good header of a ball, and I said to him this year that I betted him £5 that at 5-1 that he wouldn't score 5 headed goals this season. And yesterday he scored his 5th goal.
What's been the result of that in his play?
Well, he's been practising quite hard. He even keeps his eyes open now when he heads the ball.
Yeah. And what happened with this goal yesterday? I mean, it was a great header. Would you class it as a great header?
Well, it was. His timing was good, and he put it in exactly the right place. This is a situation. Arthur Mann picks the ball up here. He turns brilliantly on this ball and takes 4 defenders away from the ball and crosses another very good cross. Catches the defence on the wrong foot there, and you see Francis coming now. He's standing, Francis, and he just plants it right in the top corner. And you see him, when he walks back, you'll see him look up in the stand to me, telling me that I owe him £25.
There he is now walking. He hasn't had time to look at you. As a matter of fact, I'm very grateful to you yesterday because I won a bottle of champagne off John Alderton in the result of yesterday's match, Manchester City versus United, and you won it well. What about that other incident that took my eye, the referee getting cramp in that game? At what point in the game was that?
This was about 3 or 4 minutes to go, and he just went down and blew his whistle, and he had cramp. This, I think, is a bad point. You know, I think that the standard of fitness of referees should be better than this. I mean, the amount of running they have to do is nothing near a player, and they shouldn't be going down with cramp.
You think this is a positive fault in that referee?
Well,
he wasn't an old referee.
No, he's a young referee, and maybe it was a nervous tension. I think he was a little nervous because it was a big occasion for him, the first derby he'd ever done, and maybe this affected him.
In fact, of course, it was a very dramatic derby, not only in terms of result, but with that clash between Best and Pardoe. I want to look at that now because I think this is such a vital thing that people put this in perspective, and I want your views on it afterwards on this incident because I think it's one that can easily be misunderstood. And let's have a look now and see what we can see about this clash. This is in slow motion. There is Best chasing after the ball. He's miscontrolled it, and you can see, I think, that Pardoe comes in and he's there first. But Best goes in only fractionally late up on that tackle, but nevertheless he was second in to Pardoe, and you can see that awful moment there in slow motion as Pardoe falls on the ground injured. Now, how did you view that yesterday after the game?
After the game, actually at the moment I always fear those situations. You know, you can see that one player's going to be late on another player, and you always fear the worst when they go in that type of tackle. And I was worried and I'm very concerned. The thing that I was amazed at was that the referee never stopped the game then. He never gave a foul, you know, of any kind.
No. It was, in fact, the linesman who called the referee's attention to what went on in that tackle.
No, I believe that the players made the referee aware of what had happened, and he went to the linesman afterwards.
Was the referee in a good position to see that?
Well, I thought the referee was in a very good situation. He was only about 10 yards from the ball and facing the actual tackle. Whereas the linesman had Glyn Pardoe's back was to the linesman.
What about Georgie Best? Should he have taken his name?
Well, if he doesn't give a foul in the incident, then he can't take his name. Because the referee couldn't have thought it was a foul. But after Glyn Pardoe broke his leg and the players complained, and then he went to the linesman, he came back and took his name. I think that he accepted the linesman's decision, whereby I think he was in a better situation to see it.
And the linesman was saying, in fact, that Best was late into that tackle. Do you support that view?
I thought Best was late in the tackle, yes. But I was seeing it on television today, you know, Georgie often goes into tackles like this and often wins the ball. And only Georgie knows whether it was intentional or unintentional. I don't think that Georgie would do that sort of thing.
He's not the kind of player, George, who would do that kind of thing generally.
No. Georgie is generally the player who gets that sort of thing.
I must say my own view, and I'm not involved as a manager. I've seen that today. I think he went for the ball. I honestly think he miscontrolled the ball and went hell for leather to get it back, but he was late in, and Glyn Pardoe was there first. What did he do at the end of the game, Mark?
George came to the dressing room and he came in and he said that he was terribly sorry and that, you know, he could see he was very distressed, and the lads just said, well, okay, you know, and I said to him, I thought you were late, George, you know. He said, well, I'm sorry, and I think he was very distressed, and I think it will affect him for quite a while.
Well, it was one of the things that happens in 1970 football with its physical clash, which just is part of the game. Now, you've been a bit rude about London's challenge for the league. Do you think now London have got any chance, Arsenal, Tottenham, Chelsea, of catching Leeds?
I think that the only team that's got any chance, you know, with Leeds are Arsenal. That's the only team. I don't see the others with a chance now.
They were a bit lucky when they beat you, were they not?
Leeds,
Arsenal.
They play well. The goalkeeper played brilliantly for them. He's part of the team. I don't say they had 2 chances. They took both chances. Maybe when we come to Highbury, maybe we might get 2 chances.
So you're predicting the league is not over yet. Arsenal have a chance of catching Leeds.
Yes. I think it's just a 2-horse race now.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for coming down today to the studio for us. And would you pass on the best wishes of all the viewers to Glyn Pardoe?
Thank you very much.